Welcome to episode 146 of Outside the Circle, a podcast dedicated to new and upcoming country artists, musicians, and songwriters. Today's guest will be Laura Sawosko. We'll get to her in a little bit, but first, I'm Ronnie, and here's Brian.
What's happening, man? How's everyone doing? Yeah, I feel like I have a new lease on life. I survived a black widow spider bite, which has delayed our recording. I'm saying process of elimination. We figured out it was black widow, just of our location and the type of wound that I had, and then the symptoms that I suffered through for 3 days. But man, I feel like a whole new person. I have a bunch of energy, and I'm sure the steroids and the antibiotics that are pumping in me right now have nothing to do with it. But no, man, I feel good now.
Yeah, good. Those texts were a little alarming when we weren't sure what was happening, and unfortunately, and the fortunate side is that you're doing much better. The unfortunate side is no Peter Parker symptoms. So we're still got to show up to work tomorrow. Yes.
An absolute lie that movie is, man. I'm like, if I'm suffering through this, something better happen to me. No, man, I feel bad for my wife, Jamie. She like spent the entire night, Monday night, just staring at me to make sure I kept breathing throughout the night.
Probably. But you're here. That's the important part. You made it. You survived.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a wild ride.
Yeah. I pictured, I don't know if you've ever seen the show, The Last of Us on HBO, that show that's running. I pictured like you in that like environment, just laying there waiting for something to happen. Yeah, no, that's but yeah, you're no, you sound good, you look good, you're ready to go.
Yeah, man. Like I said, that was wild. Glad I didn't, need anything harsher, anti-venom type stuff, but yeah, it's a good time. I don't advise it for anybody, but glad to be here.
Good. Yeah, I've got nothing fun on my end. It's hockey playoffs, so that's all I'm doing. So no spider bites sitting on the couch.
No, man. I think this is a fun episode though that we got coming up.
Yeah. I'm glad. We kind of resolved it beforehand, but literally moments before hitting record, I lost all power, and when Laura jumped onto the Zoom, and then it was just a whole fiasco, and you were ready to take it over, and then somehow I popped back up literally right as we started. So I'm glad I made it back on and got our power back, because it was fun chatting with her, and kind of going through her story, and all the adversity in youth and growing up, and to where she is today. So it was cool. I think why don't we just jump to it and get right into it. All right, everyone. We're here today with singer-songwriter Laura Sawosko. Welcome to Outside the Circle, Laura. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, we're excited to chat. Kind of going back and forth a little bit beforehand, over email and stuff, kind of getting to know you a little bit through that. So I'm excited to dive into it. We always like to start with the typical, kind of tell us a little bit about where you grew up and how important music was in your household, and kind of things like that.
Yeah, well, that sounds good. So yes, thank you so much for having me on today. I appreciate it. And growing up in my house, music was always playing, which is funny, like on the radio. So I grew up to like the oldies and John Denver and James Taylor and just all that great singer-songwriter music and jazz, smooth jazz, Diana Krall, Frank Sinatra. But what's funny is I am the only musician in my entire family, and I come from a big family. So I'm the youngest of 5. And then they have children, and now those children are having children, and still I am the only musician in my family. So I don't know what happened, but
yeah, I feel like I feel like with the children and the children, and we just got to throw a guitar in somebody's hand and hope for the best.
I have tried, and piano's my first instrument. So God knows, I bought him a little keyboard and all those little toys, and it never stuck. Now people say, yes, my grandpa that I never really met because he died when I was 1. He played the concertina, which is like an accordion. So, okay, that counts, but
yeah,
that's about it.
Yeah. So not really. So having really no musical, I don't know, I guess musical influence in the family, kind of take us through that thought process on when like music became that thing that you were going to follow and kind of like what got you started in the first place, not being around it.
Right, exactly. That's a good question. So I was about 6, and my dad did buy my mom a little Baldwin upright piano. And so she did take a couple lessons, maybe more than that, and it just never stuck. So I just kept begging for piano lessons at that young age. So they gave me some lessons, and I just loved it. I just fell in love with the piano. It's like my best friend. And I had no idea like why I couldn't sing with it and project my voice. That never registered. So I sang through the piano, and I just loved artists back then. You had Billy Joel, Elton John, and all the great, piano players of the time. But later on, I'd realized in college why I couldn't project my voice was because I have one functioning vocal cord. So I had surgery to move the paralyzed one in closer. So now I can sing with my songs. So it's a full circle moment, but I just always loved music. And then I taught myself guitar in college based on what I knew on the keyboard. So, and piano. So, and that was it. When I moved to Nashville, I never really listened to country music that much prior to moving here. I know that everyone here, they're like, they grew up with like Willie and Wayland and all that. And that just wasn't me. But now I have a true appreciation for it.
Yeah, it's like it's all kind of under the same church, right?
I know. Yeah, same church, different pew.
Yeah, but no, that's crazy, and I'd love to hit on it the vocal cords. I'm also a singer and audio engineer, so the audiology is like really kind of into. So you had one functioning vocal cord, and it was just a volume thing. It had nothing to do with like pitches or anything like that.
I didn't even know what to do to sing for anything. I just couldn't project my voice. So it kind of like turned into a whisper of sorts. And it was not even gravelly because I like a nice texture in a voice like a Melissa Etheridge. And Lord knows I wanted that. But I just knew I couldn't do it. And even in choir, I would lip sync in choir in high school just so I could play piano because that's all I really wanted to do with the choir. So I lip sync. When I watch back on those videos, I'm like, OMG. So yes, then I was in college at Arizona State, and I'm like, I know it's somewhere here. There's a problem. So they went in with a scope, and they're like, oh yeah, you just have one functioning vocal cord. I'm like, I was just relieved to have an answer because I'm like, well, great. Now it makes sense. Nobody knew. So then I was like, wow, I can sing. And the doctor said right before the surgery, Laura, you will never sing. Do it to have a louder voice, but you're not going to sing. So I said, that's okay. Let's do it.
Right. Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, to sing, how much work did you have to put in? To get that, was it like a lot of like straining or anything like that to stretch that out, or?
I didn't even know what I was doing, to be honest. So I just listened to new influences like Ani DeFranco and Tori Amos and Sarah McLachlan. And I think because I never had a voice, I was just so grateful. So I was like, anything sounded good to me that came out of my mouth. So I was just so happy to have something. So yeah, I didn't even have real vocal lessons until later on. That would have made sense. But yeah, I was in a band where I was the keyboardist. So I was mostly just mimicking what the lead singer did.
Right.
So I love that it does fit what I do. I'm more of a storyteller, singer, songwriter. So thank God I didn't want to do like heavy metal or something like that because that might have not worked out.
Yeah, that would have put a lot on the vocal cord for sure.
Death metal, I don't know.
Yeah. So it's interesting that. So you said that this was in college when you went in for that surgery and when you kind of really found what was going on,
Mhm.
so I guess what I'm getting to, I have kind of the opposite problem where my ears are like that. I my whole life I couldn't hear anything. Like I had no idea. Like
Wow.
teacher would say put your head down. I'd put my head down, and she'd tell the class to pick their head up, and I would still have it down. Like it was just
Wow.
it was selective hearing without it actually being selective.
Wow.
And then, it was like later in life, and all of a sudden I could hear music, and I was like, "Oh, this is fun. I like this." And
Yeah.
at one point, the doctors even wanted to give me what is it? The collicular.
Yeah.
I never say the
I
word,
can't
but
pronounce it.
it was like right when it was first coming out, and they literally told me you'll never hear music the same way again. And I was like, no, I'd rather hear music than listen to people talk to me. So, but yeah, no, it's
So what did you end up doing to hear?
I literally 17 surgeries later, I have no idea what they've ever done but I could, and I still can't hear great, but I hear enough that I guess the point of all of that is it's crazy what like our bodies can do, right? Like the science behind like how the vocal cords affect the volume affects you guys obviously know more about that. I can't sing for a lick of me, but it's the body is a very unique, interesting thing.
Well, it is. And I just don't like when doctors or anyone tries to limit us because they're negating the human spirit and what's possible. So, if someone's been in an accident, don't tell them they're not going to walk because, I've seen some crazy things and just like I said, the human spirit. So no one was going to tell me I wasn't going to sing. And here I am these are 4 of my 6 albums that I've done. So I would love to talk to that doctor again, but I don't even know where I'd find him, to be honest.
Yeah. And something tells me you won that conversation. That doctor somewhere may or may not know what you're up to now, but the you get to go to bed at night knowing that you put your mind to it and you did it, right? You are doing it.
Yeah. I mean, like after my show yesterday, I find that my voice is strained. It feels like kind of like a mild sore throat, like after a performance. And so that's fine. I can deal with that. Salt's my best friend, gargle with salt water. And besides that, I mean, if you and I went to a crowded like room or a bar, you probably couldn't hear me well because in that loud of an environment. Because Lord knows when I moved to Nashville, I wanted to work at Coyote Ugly. I watched that movie too many times. I wanted to dance on the bar and all that. And I was like, well, first of all, I don't want to do that sober. It wouldn't be fun. And also they couldn't hear me in the bar. So I was like, that wouldn't work. I couldn't take your order.
Yeah.
So, oh well.
So some Coyote Ugly trivia is that movie. A lot of the bar scenes were actually filmed in the town that I grew up in.
What?
Yeah, it's like our one. Yeah, we've got like 2 or 3 claim to fames, and that's one of them. Yeah.
That's huge. I'm jealous. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the bar itself is nothing to be jealous of. But
is that bar open?
Oh, I have no idea. I don't think it is anymore, to be honest. I think. Like anything, I think that section of town kind of went through a little gentrification and all the good stuff about it doesn't exist anymore.
Well, that's like Nashville. I mean, it's growing so fast. I mean, compared to like New York or Chicago, people would laugh at that. But sometimes I'll be driving. I'm like, I don't know where I'm at because there's so many new buildings. And I'm like, I took a picture of the Kroger that was their grocery store. It's a pile of rubble. And I'm like, this is crazy. I've never seen anything grow so fast.
Yeah.
But what's funny, to wrap up what you were asking about my vocal cord, I never talked about this before this album, but this album, I'm like, I'm going to be completely honest about everything about who I am and how I got here. And so I thought, how can I sit here and not say that? Because maybe if I can give hope to somebody else, it's worth it. But I didn't want people to see me as broken or listen to it and go, oh, I don't know. So most people say they can't even tell. So I just say it so maybe give somebody hope. That's all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's you take the music away, the whole point of being here is to like help, right? To help other people. And, you're given a platform where you can do that. So, yeah, I mean, the authenticity, the being yourself, it's kind of transitions pretty perfectly, but I kind of want to jump into the songwriting side of it. So, you mentioned 4 or 5, this is upcoming 6th album. So kind of take us through that process of songwriting and, kind of what that looks like for you and, all that good stuff.
Of course. I mean, I've been songwriting since I was about 8, so it has changed so much in that time. And, when I began, I would just emulate what I heard on the radio. So back then, not to date myself, but it was like We Are the World and songs like that and Michael Jackson. And so I could just instinctively hear a chord progression, like just what they were doing. And so I would play that. And by playing their music, I could see, oh, this is like a format. But I never had one of my piano instructors teach me that. And that's why now that I am a piano instructor as well as doing songwriting, I teach my students, let's compose, let's do all that. And so you'll hear that there is a structure in different kind of genres of music. I'm not sure what y'all prefer, but pop, how many minutes per song, how many minutes in a country song. So I learned that when I came to Nashville. Now before I would just write from beginning to ending. So like a couple of these albums, it was just a conscious, thought, or it would just stream of consciousness. And I unfortunately would sometimes drink wine during that time. And it was kind of like my therapy. And now it's like, wow, there's actually a format and a way to do it. So Nashville has taught me a lot. There are so many talented people here. So now I start with the hook. I didn't even know what that was. So that's the last line of the chorus. That's the point of the song. So now we start there and then build out like a circle. So very different. So I am very proud of the 2 albums that I did compose and record in Nashville. So that's now what I do. I'll start with the hook or maybe an idea. So my phone is just full of ideas. And if I lost my phone, I think I cried. But yeah, it used to be like a blank piece of paper and a pen. And that was like 10 years ago. And now I'm like, I just love my phone, the Notes app so much. Oh, yeah. So I'm like, I can see it at night. It's all lit up. So that's kind of how this album came about. So then you just start, the basic structure of a song. So it's like intro, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, end. But it's amazing, like to say all that, that's in 3 minutes. So to tell a story in 3 minutes, I mean, it still scares me when I start a song because I'm like, oh, what are we going to do? So I wrote every song on this album by myself, which meant all the lyrics, all the music. So sometimes I'd get stuck and it's not like we could co-write and I could ask you, hey, what would you do for this lyric? I'd have to sleep on it or come back to it. My spiritual song, This Much, took 10 years. So yeah, it's a long time coming.
And that's what's crazy too. That's like the opposite of what Nashville is about, right? And Nashville is all like co-writes and all that stuff to get all that out there. And, you're kind of like swimming against the stream there, but
absolutely.
But I love it because it's you, it's solely you, and so what I like most is that in a co-write, I love co-writes, and I think some of the best songs can come out of co-writes just because you can bounce the ideas off. But the growth of a song that is coming from someone that has felt it, has held the pen, has done all the things is much different. And I think that is really important. And especially a project like this that you're saying is the most honest and the most, personal song or album that you've had is very cool.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. And I'm happy you do know as a musician, just the process in Nashville. The average song is written by 3 individuals. That's just the average, but it could be less, it could be more. And it's just interesting how fast the song can get written. And I love when I sing with somebody with a higher range than me. I mean, I'm kind of like alto, like I don't have a high voice. So when I have somebody that's like a soprano, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can write a song that goes up to high C. What? So, that's pretty cool. So I'm not knocking co-writing at all. I do it. I love it. I just wanted this album to be different. And so it's funny, when I was approaching publishers, I talked to a mentor and I said, I don't want them to know I wrote all these songs by myself. And she said, why? She said, they just want to see that you could hold your own if you were to co-write. And this kind of shows them that you can.
Yeah.
So I was kind of holding back and not sharing that either, but now I am.
Yeah. So it's funny that you use the word share. My problem is I don't like to share, so co-writing would be difficult for me.
Well, yeah. Do you write songs ever?
So I grew up playing in bands, so as a collective, which is funny because isn't that co-writing? But those were our songs, right?
Yeah.
But musically was never really my side of it. Like every band, every group or whatever that I've been a part of, I was always like the lyricist of the band. So like the music side of it, like if you told me to play whatever chords and I'd fake my way through it, but so that in that sense, I would not do well in a co-write when somebody's trying to get me to do something but you sit me there with just a pen and paper while you strum away, then yeah, let's do it.
And what's crazy is when I moved here, I never knew that artists didn't write their own songs. I thought like Garth Brooks wrote all of his and Trisha Yearwood wrote hers. And I was like, what? This is like a factory, like a songwriting factory. So I found it just so interesting. So there are some people like yourself that are just lyricists, and which is awesome because you need that. And that's all they do. And there's some people that don't even play an instrument and they're songwriters. And that boggles my mind. I don't know how you do it and write a song without an instrument. So I guess you just have to communicate with the person that does play an instrument. But I don't know if I have that patience.
Yeah. Right. I mean, you can speak to it more since you're in Nashville, but that theme is kind of changing, right? You're seeing a lot more singer-songwriters coming out versus just the performer of or other songs and stuff like that, like the Garth Brooks or the George Strait or anything like that.
Exactly.
You're seeing more. Well, I mean, this is even dated, but you're seeing like Lee Brice, Eric Church, Builders, that type of thing. Is
yes, I love Eric Church, and yes, so you are seeing that more and more. And even if they aren't like me or people that write their own songs, what's interesting and not good for people like me is actually that the artist wants to be on the right because there's royalties. So now even if they don't really write, they're like, hey, I'm going to sit in on this one. And then I'll be with 3 incredible songwriters and put my name on the bottom. So would they take just a great song just because it's great? Probably not, because they want a part of the royalties.
Right. Well, we talked about that. Well, it was maybe two podcasts ago that the pie's getting smaller. And so like everybody wants that little bit of it. And just being a singer and getting your ticket money at tours is not paying the bills all the time.
Right. It's not. And then you see like with streams and all that, it is cool as an indie artist that I can have fans through YouTube and streaming, and that is good for attention, but I'd rather have sell you a hard copy album for $10 than a penny for a stream.
Right.
Well, there's a lot to be said about the physical media world too, right? Like we talked since literally episode 1 about holding that physical copy and reading the I almost called them show notes, the liner notes in inside the booklets. And like, there's something you're engaging more with the content than just throwing Spotify on and hitting, whatever shuffle. And
maybe that's just because we're musicians or artistic in some way. I don't know if that's how it is for everybody. I wish it was, because I spent extra to make the booklet. I wanted every lyric in there, every credit, and my graphic designer's like, Laura, you don't have to put the same guitarist under each song. And I'm like, I want to give them credit for each song. And so it's pretty long, but it's all there, and all my thank yous. And all of that was important to me. So yes, it costs the artist more out of pocket, but for me, those liner notes were important. And I want them to get the physical album. But yeah, I hear that records are coming back, like actual vinyl records. I didn't do that.
So I could attest to that. I am quite the collector. My 875 albums sitting to the left of me would tell you
Wow.
that. And my Frank Sinatra vinyl tattoo. So,
Oh, wow.
so yes, they're very much taking a comeback.
That is awesome. Very cool. I never had a record player, so it's like I know I'm not that cool, but yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I should.
Yeah.
Does it sound different on a record? Everyone says it does.
Yes, but here's the funny thing, right? I'm going to answer this as the person with hearing issues.
Okay. I'm not.
You know, it does. I feel like there really is a difference. But also, again, it might just be more the what do you call it? Like when that's like the nostalgia of it, maybe like it just feels better listening to something that way.
Yeah, like more authentic, maybe.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, like like my hearing's fine enough to know the difference, but yeah, I mean, there's a little different, depending on it. Really, I mean, if you really want to jump into the production of vinyl, like it really depends on like where it was produced and like where it was cut and all that. But yeah, I mean, it's. I think it's just more about the nostalgia of holding it and all that. But
yeah. I mean, I geek out on it because I think it's cool. It's like the it's the physical world of sine waves, of sound waves, right? Like right. To go real audio engineer on you, when I talk, I move air. That air then travels through the air and pushes on your eardrum the same time that my vocal cords. So you get like a push and pull type of thing. That's exactly what a needle is doing to a vinyl that's going.
Oh, that's cool.
And so that's what I think is really cool.
That is cool. Growing up, when CDs came out, I'm like, this is a fad. This is silly. I'm like, I want to do the cassette and I want to go all the way through each song. And I'm like, this ain't gonna last. I said computers weren't gonna last, and now here we are. So what do I know? I'm like, cell phones? What's that? So I sound like a dinosaur right now. I'm not that old, but yeah, it's just crazy. The technical revolution, like what's happened, like just in our lifetime, I don't even know what's going to happen with music next. And now you know what my worst fear is? AI.
Yeah.
we had quite a long discussion about AI last week.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's and like if you really think about it, like you just said like in our lifetime, but it's really only been like the last 10 to 25 years, depending on what we want to talk about. Like it hasn't been that long.
I know, like I had my first cell phone. I remember when they came out in college. So yeah, it really wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
And I was holding on to my flip phone. I'm like, I am not getting one of these computer screen looking phones. So again, I just hold on. And so now we got AI, and it's like, now anyone can compose. So what's my purpose anymore? So it's kind of makes me have to be so authentic that, you can tell, hopefully. And I told my mom, I was trying to explain the difference between co-writing and the music industry. It's like a factory, and they can knock out like 3 songs. Not that they're bad, but it is like a factory. And I said, I'm kind of like Ford Motors, like when the first cars came out and you really work on that one car. That's kind of the difference. So is one better than the other? No, but it's just different.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of a pretty perfect segue, pretty perfect transition here. So why don't we take our break, play the song we're going to play for you, and then we'll talk about it when we come back. So if you want to go ahead and introduce it for us, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so this is Take My Hand. This is a very personal song. I wrote this about my father who passed away in 2022. And it's just about the changing relationship between, parent and child. And so when you're growing up, it's like your parents lead you around, take my hand. And then when they walk you down the aisle, there's my dad. And then it all changes and they're older and my father's falling and my father can't walk. So I'm helping him up off the ground, take my hand. So it's just that change in the relationship where it's precious, it's heartbreaking. And it's inevitable and it happens to everybody. So I think hopefully everyone can relate to this song. And I had a wonderful father. He was one of my best friends. And so I'm so happy I could pay tribute to him with this song.
He was the head of our house, father who lived to provide. And I saw him on weekends, breakfast, and at supper time. It was a quick hug, 'cause he had work to do, the strongest man I ever knew. And he taught me how to worship, and we'd pray and then we'd kneel. And he taught me how to slow dance as I balanced in my heels. And he would lead me, and I would twirl. I'll always be his little girl. He said, take my hand so you don't fall when you are weak, and I'll be strong, and I'll be patient when you're moving slow. I'll let you fly when it's time for you to go. And he was much taller than me, but never made me feel small. And he was my first protector if ever I was wronged. He walked me down that aisle. I was head to toe in white. He was steady by my side. He said, take my hand so you don't fall when you are weak, and I'll be strong, I'll be patient when you're moving slow. I'll let you fly when it's time for you to go. The years flew by and there was so much my father could no longer do. And he watched me take my first steps. Now he could barely take a few, but he was quick with a joke, even at 82, the strongest man I ever knew. I said, take my hand so you don't fall when you are weak. I'll be strong, and I'll be patient when you're moving slow. I'll let you fly when it's time for you to go. I'll let you fly when it was time for you to go.
All right, so let's talk about Take My Hand. You kind of gave us the little rundown on the inspiration and, paying tribute to your father there, and, kind of taking it from idea to product to now being, the newest single. Kind of take us through that and what it means having this be, what's out in the world for you right now.
I think some songs just speak to you more. And, even though I have 12, they're like my 12 babies. And although I don't have children, I can imagine that, it's like, which child's your favorite? You can't say, but this child is one of my favorites. I love how the melody came about, and it sticks in your head. It sticks in mine. And it was kind of easy. The labor was kind of easy on this one. Sometimes it's like, you're just going back and back. And I started to write it when he was sick, and it kind of evolved. And so then when he heard a little bit of it when he was still alive, so I'm happy about that. And then I could, after his death, finish it up. And so I think when you have that much emotion, putting it into a song, it's like it has to come through you so I could push it out in the world. And so definitely there's a lot of emotion in that song. And so I think I began with the hook, obviously, in the chorus. So Take My Hand. It was actually inspired by a picture I saw on Facebook. You never know what you're going to see on Facebook. And it was like a kind of caricature with like the parents holding the child's hand, and then on the bottom you saw the elderly parents, and then the big guys holding their hand. And I started to weep when I saw the picture, and I thought that has to be a song. So that's where it really initially started.
I love this song, and I speak a lot about, the production of and the recording of it. And I love how like raw and acoustic it is. I'm an acoustic guitar player. And so I always have a little bit of a bias that way anyways. But to me, I love it. And
thank you.
What I do about the storytelling and about the song and how the whole song kind of plays out is it's not like a sob fest, right? It's like, it's a hopeful and it's a remembrance and it's that kind of a feel. It's not like a super sad song, though it is it's a touching song and it's a hard subject to talk about. But it's a hopeful song. And I like that a lot.
Well, thank you. I just loved the details in the lyrics in the beginning, just what kind of father he was. And he was a father who lived to provide. I saw him on weekends, breakfast, and at supper time. And so I said it's a quick hug because he had work to do, the strongest man I ever knew. So that's where we began. And it was just so awesome being able to talk about him, especially now that he's not here. And so he was just a provider. The day I was born, they were never allowed in the delivery room, the fathers. And then for me, he was. At that time. So he said, that's the greatest miracle I've ever witnessed. And so it was amazing. And then he said, well, I got to go to work. I got another mouth to feed. So now it's like, some people take off months to be with their wife, and that's great too. But I'm just saying he was such a hard worker. That was his mindset. I have to provide for my family. So that's how I start the song. And then it goes on, and then the last verse, I think, is one of my favorites, where it's just how it changed. And, years went by and there's so much my father can no longer do. He watched me take my first steps. Now he can barely take a few. So it's just then in the last one, that's when I think people get it and they're like, oh my God. And so I love when country music does that, where it's the same chorus. I didn't change a word in there, but except I say, take my hand. And before he said, take my hand. So I just love that. I think Three Wooden Crosses does that, where I'm just weeping by the end. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. So talking on the lyric side of it, which is usually the side that I always touch on. I mean, listening to this song, I guess by definition, my stepfather, but by all accounts, he was the man who raised me, and he is my dad. At the end of the day, he was the father from when he came into the picture. We lost him early and young. Wow, it's been 2016 now, so it's been almost 10 years. Oh wow, that was a weird realization to just go through. But this song, without the early steps and taking the first steps and all that, I was 9 or whatever when he came around. But, it has that power to draw you to remember, kind of like the hopefulness of it. Like, yeah, he's gone, but like, man, weren't those some cool times? That, I got to have those with him, and so the way that the progression that it just takes you through, and I've been thinking, this is so weird that I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and that we're talking about this today, but the idea that we grow up and our parents are Superman, right? Like our dad is Superman. And then, we get to a certain age and all of a sudden we're like, man, they made mistakes. They were human too. And I've been really thinking about that lately, about how hard we probably were on our parents and how we probably shouldn't have been, now knowing what we know now, and, having kids around. And I work in a kid industry. So like seeing all that, I don't know. It's just, I feel like moments happen in life that bring you to certain things happen in life to bring you to certain moments, and thinking what I've been thinking. And then for us to have this conversation tonight with this song, I feel like for whatever reason, the universe made this happen in the past like 2 weeks. So,
yeah, that's really cool. It's like a full circle moment. Absolutely. Yeah. And I love that music can just bring out emotions. Sometimes I'll be dancing around and then a song will come on and I'm weeping and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I just, not that I want to make people cry, but I think as a musician, what's our goal? To make people feel something, just feel something. And I find that my favorite artists do that. And my least favorite artists, I don't feel anything. I'm just like, I don't want to name names, but there are certain artists where I'm like, they're very famous and that's great. They touch somebody, but I just want people to feel something. Writing ballads, it is my favorite, to be honest. I love it.
Yeah, like I said, I've said this a handful of times on the show here that I live in the melancholy. That is just like Vince Gill and in me is just like, so yeah, like I said, I can't say enough about the song. I think it's awesome. I love the story. I love, the behind the scenes story about it as well. And, yeah, it was kind of funny to talk about. You were talking about your stepdad or your dad there, Ronnie. I remember when I was a kid and like my dad would drive, I thought that he just knew how to go everywhere. There was no phones or GPS or anything. Like, but just like he would like go somewhere and be like, how does he know how to get anywhere?
That is so funny. We were like the Griswolds growing up, and we grew up in Chicago, and we would go down to Florida, and it was kind of like, what the heck? What is that place they go to? Wally World. But we went to Disney World, and I'm like blanking. And he'd get out the map, and my mom was like, his co-pilot, and I'm like, they got anywhere with this big piece of paper, and I'm like, wow. And now, if I didn't have my GPS, I don't know where we're gonna end up, to be honest. So they are like Superman.
Yeah. I throw my GPS on to go to the next town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I even do it if there's like traffic jams, so then it'll reroute me around. So I'm like, even to go to the grocery store, I'm like, I need it.
Yeah.
that hurts me. So I mentioned working with kids in my like day job. I'm a transportation director for a summer camp. So school buses and like getting kids to and from camp every day.
Very cool.
Like you put me, like I'm not even kidding. I went to Australia when I was 10. I can get you from the airport to the hotel still today. And I didn't even drive it then. Like, wow. So like telling me that like, oh yeah, I need to put my GPS to go down the street. I'm like, what? Like it's why I can get you anywhere in the country without having to look at a GPS.
That's so funny you say that. Cause I mean, I went to ASU and I can go back to Arizona. I can get you anywhere you want to go. And I'm like, I know the roads. It's like a grid. I come to Nashville. Some of the highways are like spaghetti. And I'm like, I still need it to pick up a friend from the airport. That's between us. I'm just kidding.
Well, Nashville, I feel like they're just building road on top of road down there.
It's not.
I'm okay with that one. You could have Nashville for the GPS. Yeah. And
then all of a sudden there's this giant pothole that's like this deep and you're like, holy cow. So yeah, it's something else driving here. But yeah, I do love writing ballads and I do need GPS and I am happy for modern technology.
Yeah. So kind of on the topic of ballads, at the end of the episode, we're not playing a ballad. We're going to play quite the opposite, quite a fun, upbeat song. So between Take My Hand, which we just heard, and College Days, which we'll play at the end, both of which I believe are on your 6th album, Not What I Do, which just came out a couple weeks ago. So how has the response been to the album so far? And, kind of tell us a little bit about the album as a whole.
It's been great. Thank God. Because when you put yourself out that much, it was like, I love that time of conception where the songs were just mine and I would listen to them every night. And then when they were being produced and all that, and I was at the end saying, maybe we should add violin, maybe steel guitar. So in that point, it was just awesome. I loved it because you don't hear any feedback. That's wrong. Or I don't like this. It was just all mine. And then when I put it out, I was really nervous because I'm like, oh, now it's out there. It's no longer mine. And now you're going to hear the feedback. So thank God it's been positive because when you release something that authentic, it's all me. If you don't like something, it's like, well, I have no one to blame. So yeah, so it was fun. I didn't want it to be all slow or all fast. I know that in country music, if you're going to have a hit song, it's got to be a fast song, preferably with the word whiskey in it. But I was like, it's just not, that's not what I do. So I just had to be authentic and do what I do. So it's kind of like an up and down. And so you go from Take My Hand, College Days, Biscuits and Gravy. So it's a nice ebb and flow. And I did that on purpose. When I looked at all my songs, I'm like that. I always say medium, fast, or slow. So I'm like, I can't have too much of the other. So it was very, very much thought of. And then what order do you put the songs in? So it had to be a specific, specific rotation. So
yeah. So we talk about that a lot too, is the art and science behind putting an album together. Like, you know, we go back to the streaming, you could put as many singles as you want on Spotify, but to put something coherent together and for it to make sense, and especially something like an album where, you know, not every song is about the same topic, and so, you know, you have concept albums and all that, but you know, typically you got many different topics. So to find that artistry in putting an album together is pretty interesting too. Yeah.
It is. It's not a concept album, but I had one theme, I would say that, where it all had to be very personal, and it had to be a piece of myself, especially a piece of myself I've never shared before. So that was the bar that I raised for myself. And I was like looking at other songs. I'm like, nope, that didn't make the cut. That didn't make the cut. And so I narrowed it down. And then I wrote one final song, More Than Just a Burger, about where I go in the summer and the restaurant my parents started. And so then I felt like, okay, I did it all. And then I freak out. I don't share this often, but right before the album comes out, I think I'm like going to die. And so I get to be quite a hypochondriac, because I'm like, oh my God, it's going to be released. I'm not even going to see it happen. I'm going to be remembered for this album.
That's a little deep.
I know. But then I'm like, all right, I'm okay. I'm alive. So I get like that before the album release. All of these, I thought I was going to.
I feel like we really, you know, learned the gamut here. Your ballads, all GPS and hypochondria. We've covered it all.
I think we just did a co-write right there. We could do a song.
Yeah. I am kind of curious, and you know, this kind of goes to both of you on the studio side of it. When it does come to an album like this, where you wrote literally everything part of it. You mentioned in like your liner notes that you're, you know, give credit to the musicians who come in and play. So you're not just playing every instrument on it too. You're having studio musicians come in and play as well. Is there, how do I ask? I guess, is there like a weird, I don't know, going back to the not sharing thing, like, you know, obviously these musicians, they're professionals. They've been doing, some of them have probably been doing it for so long, like taking those notes, like, you know, the, what's the word I'm looking for? The criticism. I don't want to say criticism, but you know what I mean? Like being able to like hear things and go, oh, you know what? Okay. Like, I don't really know what my question is, but I guess being in your,
like these artists are so amazing. I mean, obviously I saw my engineer all the time, Von Lofsted. So I would go up, and I know him very, very well. I've been working with him for 15 years now. And so we feel very comfortable together. And that's extremely important when you go in the studio, because I mean, you're sharing so much of yourself. And so he did a great job, not overly producing it. And so another thing I never mention or rarely mention is that I love being an indie artist, because I can have my hands in so many aspects of being a musician. If I was just on a major label, I'm not saying, hey, more violin, more this. They're going to do that. And, you know, I don't tell people so much what to do. I'm like, you're good at that, so I'm not going to really tell you what to do. But in the editing phase, I'll say, you know, less harmony here, this or that. So it was nice to co-produce this album. So, yes, I got nervous when the musicians come in, because they're so good. They listen to it once. They all get a numbers chart. I'm sure you know what that is. Yeah. So then they go their separate way, and bam. Yeah. It's amazing.
I was gonna say the same thing. A tracking session for
Yeah.
I've done it is it's been the same thing. We brought in the songwriter. I remember specifically the one that we did. We brought in some Nashville players, some pros, and she sat on a stool, played the songs with an acoustic guitar, and the guys and girls there, they, like you said, charted it out, Nashville number system, and but they're pros, right? That's a professional lead guitar player. That's a professional, whatever player.
Yeah.
And so they would be like, all right, so this is the melody, like, what's the best thing for a lead guitar player to play? Well, try the melody. And like, normally like it works. And, and listen, to be a pro is to like not have an ego. So like you can tell those people like, hey man, I'm not kind of going with that vibe. Let's try to do something like this, and be like, oh yeah, I got another one. And then they'll try it,
I'm glad you mentioned that, just because I would go in with a song kind of and have them listen to it that's on the radio and say this vibe. Obviously, it doesn't sound like it at all, but that kind of, vibe, especially with the drummer. So he's like, yeah, I can do a train beat or whatever. So that was all I told him. And then the next thing you know, I'm like, oh my God, to hear your song come to life that fast, like in 3 minutes, I'm like, whoa, it's pretty amazing. Yeah. And they're just so talented.
I've said it too so many times, like a tracking session, the amount of like, I don't know, artistry or just like creativity that's happening in the air during a tracking session is it's tangible. You feel it. And it's hard to explain to somebody that's not been in a studio and have seen that, because it's the coolest thing.
It is. And I wanted to have some instrumentation that I never had before. I never had steel guitar. I love it. And I never had it before. I'm kind of Americana / country. So I was like, let's put it in. I love it. And I think it added so much. So Mike Daly, who's been the band leader and steel guitarist for Hank Williams Jr., is there in front of me playing on my song. And I'm like, only in Nashville to have that kind of talent. I mean, right here, accessible to me. So then I had banjo. So that was cool. Amon McLaughlin did violin, and he's with the Grand Ole Opry, and went out with so many big artists like Emmylou Harris. And here he is on my song. So, I mean, if you hear authenticity, it's not just me, it's these incredible artists.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's so cool. Just having the I mean, in some regard, the people that we've looked up to, and, going back to the liner notes, the people that we've seen their names on countless records, and then, there they are standing right in front of you, doing their thing.
I'm like, yeah, and that's why I came to Nashville. I had no idea how amazing it would be, but I mean, I was in Arizona. I mean, making money playing cover songs and all that stuff. And I'm like, there has to be more for a songwriter. And that's where I'm like, Nashville, why not?
Yeah. So kind of to piggyback off, there has to be more. So I know the album just came out, Not What I Do, April 18th. So, like I said, a couple weeks ago at this point. What does the next couple months look like for you? What do you have coming on down the line? What's next for you?
Well, I just had my album release party, and that was awesome. And so I'll have some videos coming out of that. I'm also going to shoot some more videos for some of the songs that are on the album, and just playing out more, and just staying present with my social media presence. Like I always say, it's all about numbers. And so it's like, as an independent artist, I am the one that you're talking to on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. And I mean, that takes a lot of time. So I'm dedicating myself to that. And then I'm like, when do I songwrite? When do I do the next album? So I guess right now I'm riding the wave of these songs and more interviews. And I'm so thankful to people like yourself who can help an indie artist like myself, get the word out there. So there's just more of that. And I'm so blessed to work with Play Media, and they're my PR company. And I never know where I'm going to have an interview. I just had somebody in France say, hey, we've got your song on the radio. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm very humbled.
No, that's awesome. And Laura, listen, it's been awesome having you here. Let the listeners know where they can follow along on all these social medias and and your music?
So I try to make it as simple as possible. If you follow me on my website, if you have my name up there, I think you have my name up there. So laurasawosko.com. You can find me on all social media outlets and YouTube. And please subscribe to my channel, listen to my music, videos, Spotify. I'd really appreciate the support.
Yeah, Laura, it's been a pleasure getting to know you, and six down. We'll get another 6 more out of you, 6 more albums here. So yeah, we're looking forward to seeing how the next few months and few years and everything. Yeah, we're excited for you.
Thank you.
All right, so that was our interview with Laura Sawosko, and yeah, it was a fun one. Talking about like I mentioned beforehand, coming into it, about the adversities and the personal and professional overcomings throughout her career and youth and career now. But yeah, we talked about Take My Hand and the importance of that, and we talked about the whole like family aspect and the importance of having those relationships. And yeah, it was a good one. I felt like we dove a little deeper than we sometimes do, and so it was nice to kind of have that fresh truth and deepness in it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on it. The thing, I always talk about, we had the one one of our artists there that was missing an ear, like an inner ear, and and Laura here with only one functioning vocal cord. Just wild type of perseverance of just like, this is my dream, I'm going to make it happen. And I love that. I really do love that. And her songwriting is like my kind of, like, I like to see like a storyteller's kind of songs. And like I said, man, I'm for it. I really like it. I really like her vibe and everything that she's about.
Yeah. And what's cool too is, talk about the storytelling, songwriting side of it. That's, she's not a one trick pony, one track mind. We listen to Take My Hand. You could go back to her 5 previous albums and the 6th one upcoming. That there's a lot of heart and a lot of story. And but then we're going to listen at the end of the episode her other more recent single, College Days, which there's a lot of humor in that songwriting. And sometimes we don't really see that. We see the fun drinking side, the fun party songs, the fun but the humor that she brings into this song in particular, but her songwriting is, it's a fresh look sometimes too. So it's cool.
No, it's good to see a songwriter take that type of stand, I guess, in the humor in songwriting, and I like it. But no, man, I think we definitely want to thank Laura for coming on Outside the Circle. I'm sure you go and follow her on all of her social media and music listening platforms. We'll leave you today with another track from Laura Sawosko of her College Town, Arizona State, College Days.
College was the best days, went in straight and came out gay. After graduation, had to check into AA, 'cause we drank like a fish, like a heavy metal band. Then we'd pull in all-nighter to pass that exam. No, we didn't have a clue about what we were gonna do. And I gained my freshman 15 plus 10 pounds, and nobody complained when this flat butt was round. And I lived off of fast food, carbs, and anything fried. But when I had the cash, well, it got supersized. There was no eating in when you got a 4-foot fridge We learned lots in school, just as much on Friday nights. We had a few years to decide what to do with our lives. Before our 9 to 5, before those babies cried, we poured another drink and held on tight. To those bad decisions we survived, to the best damn 4 years of our life. And I wore my faded blue jeans that barely covered my parts. The only sports I played was beer pong and darts. We'd go out at 10, crash any party with a K. If we couldn't find love, we'd bake out with a friend. My beer battle scar was that first stretch mark. We learned lots in school, just as much on Friday nights. We had a few years to decide what to do with our lives. Before our 9 to 5, before those babies cried, we poured another drink and held on tight. To those bad decisions we survived, to the best damn 4 years of our life. And I can't believe that we survived those beer-chugging, broken-hearted best years of our life, where we learned lots in school, just as much on Friday nights. We had a few years to decide what to do with our lives. Before our 9 to 5, before those babies cried, we poured another drink and held on tight. To those bad decisions we survived, to the best damn 4 years of our life. Here's to the best damn 4 years of our life.